So I guess there's also been, in effect, a lot of talk around the mining boom. And what we've seen in the mining boom is there's been intense levels of capital investment going on. So around 40% of business investment in Australia now is into mining. And we've also seen growth in employment. We all hear about it all the time. We hear, oh, my friend's going over to Western Australia to work in the mines. You can't get people to work on your houses or anything in Perth because they've all gone up to the mines. And that's true, it has grown. It's grown by 40%, the employment in the mining industry. But that's around 70,000 people. So that's not a lot of people for the growth. The mining industry is not a big employer compared to manufacturing. It's changed export numbers too, as you can see there on the screen. So it's grown from 35% of Australia's GDP up to 60%. And it's also had spillover into the service sector as well, because there's people there making coffees, not picking on the baristas, but making coffees, servicing equipment, providing services to the mining companies. But it's also created real benefits in our income to Australia as well. But it's also affected the exchange rate, which is another pressure on the manufacturing industry. So over the past decade or so, you can see there the trends in exports. There's been little growth in manufacturing output and the level of employment has declined. The export of manufacturing goods currently remains, as you can see there, at around 2008 levels. But in the same time, globally, as you can see in the corner just here, the numbers since 2008 globally, exports and manufactured goods has actually increased. So Australia is, in real terms, declining. But manufacturing has an important role to play in our economy. It still employs around 950,000 people around Australia. Compare that to mining at around 140,000 now, even in the peak times. And it accounts for around 9% of our output. What are our comparative advantages that we have for manufacturing in Australia? We have a very educated workforce. In Geelong, you have in particular, you have a great educated workforce. You have very skilled employees out of the automotive industry, some of the best in the world. They've learnt global best practice in manufacturing from being in the automotive industry. We also have an ability to design and manufacture specialised equipment. Some of the work that's done here in Melbourne, in Australia, but in Melbourne, people like Anchor over on the other side of Melbourne are almost 100% focused on export activities in precision machining equipment. We have great strengths globally around our design and manufacture of specialised equipment. We also have a fantastic reputation for high quality food, something that we don't exploit anywhere near enough. Our research and development skills globally are very well recognised. I travel the world talking around carbon fibre, particularly at the moment, which is a focus for VCAMM and Deakin here, and our researchers are globally recognised as having very, very good quality outputs. And also our experience in mining related equipment too is very strong. We have people like Hoffman Engineering in Perth who manufacture replacement components for the mining industry that a number of people specify as OE equipment on their mining equipment. So the manufacturers have to buy replacement parts to put in on day one because their performance of their replacement parts outperforms the OEM parts. The high exchange rate, yep, that's a problem as well. It means our manufacturing is less competitive. There's no two ways about that. The finished products are more expensive than our competitors. So manufacturing must move up the supply chain. It must get into higher intellectual property manufacturing products. It has to put intellectual property into it. We can't just make vanilla flavoured, basic manufactured components. Maybe you can get away with it a little bit for some local activities, but not in the export market. It's very, very important we develop new intellectual property. We also have to make an ongoing investment in human capital, in knowledge, in education and skills. We have to make ongoing investment in the latest machinery and equipment, and we need constant attention to improving productivity all the time. The good thing is Australian manufacturing is really shifting. The graph there on the side is an ABS survey, which shows quite clearly that taking up new ideas and new operational processes, be that technology, business practices, new methods, manufacturing is picking it up. It's getting the message, it is transforming, whereas other areas are declining. can also see the changes in export volumes, the changes in manufacturing we're seeing. The aggregate exports of manufactured goods to date are little changed since 2007. But there's been high growth, as I said earlier, in specialised industrial equipment and professional and scientific instruments. And the exports of motor vehicles, as we all know, and construction materials is down. It's interesting to note this, that here we can see the levels. Here, these two graphs are from 2001 to 2011, both sides. We can see now that our professional and scientific exports are equivalent to what our automotive exports were in 2001. Now, the bad news for Geelong, unfortunately, is that this is the side of the graph where your manufacturing is. You're not currently in this sort of area. So you're not in this growth area, you're in this decline area. And this is a challenge for Geelong. But it's not all doom and gloom, as I say. What I see, instead of doom and gloom, is opportunity. Opportunity knocks. And there's been a lot of work done in the United States recently around this phenomena. And Australia is a little microcosm of the United States in some ways. In some ways it's a little microcosm of England. But I think, from a manufacturing point of view, I think we're very, very linked to what's going on in the US. So in the US, what we're seeing now is some areas, such as Stanford, San Jose, Raleigh, Ann Arbor, Seattle, are all growing. They're all forming little clusters of growth, and people are migrating into those areas. Areas like Detroit, Cleveland, Modesto, Merced are declining. And so there's lots of problems. You'll see that these areas, Detroit is in all types of trouble. So why have the workers and innovators and researchers gone to specific places? Why do certain companies, like Silicon Valley, I don't like using the Silicon Valley example because it's overused, but if we take Seattle, why do these places attract the best quality people? They've got large companies there, they're paying over the odds for the staff, they're paying more for their cups of coffee, everything. Why are they all why are these centres growing? What's going on there? Well, the answer seems to be what's called innovation hubs. And they're a mix of factors. Firstly, they have an educated workforce. So it's what the Americans call a college town. They attract good quality graduates out of the universities or the colleges there in the United States, and they stay there. They've got good quality universities, but the graduates, for whatever reason, stays there. Part of that is a supportive community. People who support young people coming out of universities with innovative ideas to take on new challenges and to create new businesses. Something that we in Australia are not particularly good at. We're not particularly good at giving our young guys out of the university a go at making a business. In Australia, if you set up a business and you fail, you are punished for it. If you don't trust him, don't trust Brad. He had a business that went bankrupt. We can't give him money because he's not trustworthy. He doesn't know how to manage things. In the United States, go west, young man, is the motto. Go west, create a company, have a crack at it, try and make some money. If you fail, that's okay, we'll dust you off. You're going into bankruptcy, but that's okay, we'll dust that off. It's only for a little while, and you come back and you have another go. And the venture capitalists will say to you, have you failed? And you say, yes, I did. I set up this business and I failed. And they say, what did you learn out of that? Oh, I learned I have to watch the cash flow, whatever the answer is. And they say, good, you've learnt a lesson. I'm happy to give you some money now. That is very, very different to what we see in Australia. So we don't quite have a supportive community.